What's going on, YouTube? Levi and
Athena
of Old Iron Off-Road. We are on a weekend adventure getaway slash worky thing. We're actually headed up to Roan Mountain, Tennessee to cook a late Thanksgiving dinner or help the Smok Scout. If you're familiar with the Smok Scout, you can check it out on social media. I will leave a link to their socials down in the description. Gary and Elizabeth Barker are owners of the Smok Scout. TMG Pits, a company I believe out of Knoxville, Tennessee, and Gary had an idea and collaborated on building a really cool, creative smoker. So the Scout actually used to be an old airporter. Believe it or not, International, you know, they built all kinds of stuff. They built refrigerators. If you're familiar with the brand, then you know. But if you're not, they built refrigerators. They built tools. They built rifles during the war. They built, obviously, tractors, big trucks, small trucks. They also built airporters. You know, whatever custom use you had, whatever you could think of, they would create it for you. So an airporter, you could get two versions. One was basically a Scout 800 with a luggage conveyor that they would use to load luggage onto airplanes. Mike Moore of Scout Co. was actually going to scrap it, I believe. He didn't really have a use for it. I mean, what are you going to do with an airporter? And, you know, Gary thinking way outside of the box, had a dream and created the Smok Scout. Gary and his wife have volunteered their time to come up to Roan Mountain, Tennessee and actually cook a late Thanksgiving dinner for some of the locals in the area. And he's bringing the Smok Scout to throw a bunch of turkey breasts on there. My wife and myself and another couple are going to go up there and lend a hand as we can. So I figured this would be a good time for you guys at home to get to see the Smok Scout, get to know Gary and Elizabeth, and check it out in action. So stay tuned. Standing here with Gary Barker, owner of what is now the Smok Scout.
Smok Scout, yep.
So we're actually here in Roan Mountain, Tennessee, and Gary's decided to volunteer some time to come up here and cook some birds for the locals and try out the Smok Scout.
Volunteering,
Yeah, right. Yeah. But where, how, like what? What was the idea behind this?
Well, let's start with the Scout. So it's a '68 Scout 800. Was custom built by International as a luggage hauler to put bags in planes. So you can see the hood beat all to pieces right here. So the good part of the hood is where the
conveyor was.
The conveyor was at where the conveyor was there.
Yeah.
And so
the conveyor was actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it protected the paint.
So that's where bags.
This is where the bags bailed off. Beat the hood up.
I gotcha.
This thing, the conveyor system set down on it and it went the whole length of the smoker. Had a little hydraulic box on it that would raise it up and down.
And the suspension on this side was already like super beefed up for the weight.
The spring pack in the front, you might be able to see a little bit of it. That spring pack's like 3 times the size of this side.
And the back is beefy too, right?
Yeah. So if you unloaded it, it set like this, and it actually took so much weight off the back of it, it almost wouldn't pull itself.
Wow.
Because it would just spin.
Oh, wow. So flash forward, you ended up with the Scout through wheeling and dealing?
Yeah, Mike Moore and I did a little trading. I had a Travelette that he kind of had some interest in. I always had interest in this because I like odd international stuff.
Right.
I had no use for it. And actually, when I traded for it, it was just like,
what am I going to do with this?
I wanted Mike to have the truck because I knew he'd finish it. And so I'm like, I don't really have a use for this. It's kind of cool. And it was still sitting in his junkyard, his salvage yard up there. So during that time, we're looking at it, brainstorming. Mike's talking about putting this motorcycle on it, making a motorcycle hauler, blah, blah, all this stuff, which is super cool. And then it just hits me because I'm building this smoker. And I'm like, holy crap, this bed is like perfect for a 250-gallon propane tank.
Like a light bulb moment.
Yeah, and it was over. After that, I knew what we were going to do.
So you actually were building your own smoker at the time.
Correct.
That you were. So the plan later on ended up getting TMG involved too.
Well, you know how our projects go.
I know.
We have customers that expect stuff from us.
Yeah.
And
paying work comes first.
Not that I'm in the fabrication business,
right.
But you still got to work. Then when you come home, I had the cut tank at my house, which is still at my house, for like a year and a half. So I was like, man, this thing's never going to get built. So I sent out 3 different emails, and it was cut and pasted, same email, just changed the title. And TMG is like 10 or 15 minutes later, I got this email back, hey, what's your number? And the other 2 people have yet to respond to me because the idea was so crazy.
So TMG is a pit fabricator out of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yep.
They do a lot of high-end stuff. Shout out to TMG.
Yeah. Let's talk about their stuff for a minute. I think they deserve. These guys are good. TMG is shipping a lot of stuff to Texas. In my opinion about stuff, I'm all about craftsmanship. So my opinion about things, like face value, you look at this thing, it's cool. It's got super good patina. We were able to pick this pit off of a fresh load that they had come in. So I looked at it and I was like, I like that one. Anybody can run a clean bead out here, and look at it and say, all right, yeah, that's a perfect bead. Look at my work. The skilled guys, and the way I test things, when you start looking inside a pit, we're testing one turkey breast here. But you look in here,
bird on there.
it's money. Every bead in the whole thing is money.
So it's pretty obvious that they care about build quality and they care about their product, which is always good to see.
And they're good guys to talk to. The pit runs really good. It runs a lot better than the cheap pits you get these days. It's just a great quality pit. I can't say enough about those guys. Those guys are super cool guys. They did a lot for the flood relief stuff. They got a lot of people involved.
Yeah. And
they still do all kinds of work for their community and stuff. They're just really, really good people.
And so you want to walk us around? Is there anything in particular? So insulated firebox?
Yep, insulated firebox. They do all insulated firebox to include the door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's cool to see the...
Yep, everything. This thing is really, really efficient.
And obviously that's going to help control warpage and all that stuff too.
Yeah, the way it's braced in there, and it keeps the fire doing really, really well. The temps are right. It's easy to run. It's probably the easiest offset I've ever ran. Not that I'm some pro at running offsets. I love the triple baffle. I only wish it had 4 so we could act like it was the old hot rods with the 4 carbs on it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's a 3 carburetor unit. Most of these 250, so it's a 250-gallon propane tank that's built into an offset Texas style smoker. Their 250s don't come standard with the counterweights, but they make those doors so easy to operate.
That's cool.
And because this thing's mounted on the Scout, the grate height is a little bit higher than what a typical one would be. The stack lays down, and you take one of these bolts out and put it in here for travel, so you're not tearing up telephone wires or whatever.
Really well thought out.
That's
you can
right.
tell everything's really well thought out on this thing. So let's talk about, what do you got going on? I see the rack on the other side. What's that all about?
So this is what TMG calls a coal mine. Some of the stuff's not here. It's got a burn box for wood that sits in here. So you burn your coals down. You get all these hot coals, and you can either cook on a plancha, a grate, a skillet. It's got a rotisserie rod that goes in here, so if you want rotisserie birds. We've hung chickens off of here. I've got a couple baskets. I call them footballs. And you put the chicken in the football. You hang pineapples. Actually, the pineapples off of this are killer, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't even think about it. Throw a little rub on that pineapple and let it sit there and smoke. So you can do all kinds of stuff with this. The different apparatuses you get for this are pretty cool. The TMG charcoal burner right here works really well.
That's cool.
Knoxville,
you can tell
Tennessee.
they really care about their fabrication. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, it's got
anybody that's into fab, I mean, you can appreciate just, I mean, that's pretty slick. You can buy one from the store, but that's way cooler.
Well, and I've burned out like 4
I'm
or 5
sure
of
with
these.
the thin ones. Yeah, for sure.
And the warp, the bottoms of them warp, and I've almost burnt my feet off of these things.
Oh, wow.
The bottoms will drop out of them because they expand and contract.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're dumping hot coals.
You pick it up and you drop hot coals on your feet.
This thing's really killer. It's a little bit heavy, which is good, but you can grab a hold of that thing, take care of business.
Well, it's cool that it's two-handed too.
Yep. It works really well. But this is called the coal mine, and I dig the name of it too.
Yeah.
You know? It's kind of that two meanings thing coming from coal country and Appalachia. And it's pretty cool.
Yep.
And they put this deflector plate back here to kind of help from blowing stuff over onto the smoker, and it actually, you can feel back there the heat difference. Because when you got this fire rocking right here, you don't really want that hot spot transferring onto this side of
I guess that's true. That
Yeah.
makes sense. You want to kind of keep the smoker side heat contained in it.
independent. So, because you can get a super hot area right here, and that meat in there is cooking different, which you don't really think about that radiation off of it, but you can get it. So TMG, they wanted me to bring it down to them. So I sent this email out, and I said, hey, I got this crazy idea, and I started not to tell anybody about it because I knew it was crazy. So this is like that. This is like you got a 50-50 chance. Either it's going to be the most redneck thing you've ever seen in your life,
or you're going to pull
it's going to
it
be
off.
super cool.
Yeah.
One of the two. And so when you tell somebody that in email, you got a 50-50 chance.
Right.
They may never return your email. So they returned it. They're like, nah, man, you got to bring it down here, let us mount it. Because I wanted to buy the pit with no base on it, and then I was going to mount it.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we want to mount it, and they did way better than I'd ever do with it. So.
Well, how many times in their career are they going to get to do something like this?
Right.
So,
They have a truck there that they're wanting to do something similar, which will be way better than this. It's a bigger truck.
I gotcha.
And I've guessed since this thing hit, you know, they've thrown some videos of it out there.
Oh, I'm sure this thing's got a lot of attraction.
I think they got a couple different guys that are wanting to send. If I remember right, some dude's got like a 40s era Chevrolet he's wanting to send to them. Yeah, so it'd be super cool.
Obviously, I'm in the industry of scouts, and I know personally people have sent me pictures like, hey, have you seen this thing? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I know the guy that owns it. So,
well, buddy Ken Hess at County Smoke. So the name Smoke, the Smok Scout, it was going to be SMOAK.
okay.
And my buddy Ken Hess runs in Lynchburg a really good barbecue joint, and he's taught me a few things over the years I've picked up off of him. He was getting these videos from it, and he's like, nah, I know that guy. And people are like, you don't know that guy. How do you know this random dude with a Scout? And he's like, yeah, here's a text message where he and I were going back and forth. So I was going to spell it SMOK Scout, and then that's his gig, you know. And I'm like, nah, it's kind of stepping on his toes. So I went to the dictionary, and I was like, smoke. And then whenever the way that you pronounce it,
Right.
Smoke, S-M-O-K.
Yeah.
And then my wife's all into the Viking stuff. We put the little 2 dots at the top.
There you go.
I don't even know what those are. But I'm
They
like,
just
hey,
look
it looks cool.
Yeah.
So it became the Smok Scout. But it's funny how many times Ken got sent to him, and he's like, yeah, I know that dude. And, you know, it's just super cool. And then there's scout people that know all of us well.
Right.
That don't know this is my rig.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. It hadn't got yet, but we're going to do some stuff.
Well, for those of you that don't know, Gary is a scout guy as well. He's got a couple of internationals of his own. He has a really cool D-Series pickup that he has his business logo, which is Fat Lighter.
Yep.
He is a craftsman of craftsmen when it comes to woodworking stuff, and he actually specializes in kind of eclectic, like high-end
stuff of
classic,
character.
cool restos and stuff like that, stuff you can sink your teeth into. You own a really nice Terra as well, so he's been a scout guy for a lot of years. So what are you going to do today? We're going to put a bunch of birds on this thing and let it eat?
Yeah, we're going to test it out. We've had it loaded with some chicken so far, done some pork butts and stuff on it. Today we're going to load it down with turkey breast. I've got a soon-to-be award-winning turkey breast recipe that Levi's getting ready to know about, and we're gonna see if we can.
We're not gonna share it though. It's secret. It's proprietary.
That's right.
I'll sell it to you.
That's right. It's gonna be for sale. OldIronOffroad.com.
We're getting into the turkey cooking business.
That's right. Yeah. Really, this thing belongs to my company, Fat Lighter Company, and how this whole thing came to be. Really, the big picture of it. Back in the day when I was a young carpenter, there was a guy named Bob Wright. I'm sure he's passed now. I think he was like 20 years ago.
Okay.
And not in the greatest of health, but when we would finish a building or we would hit milestones on the building, if we dried in a building, he would barbecue for a day.
Wow.
And so he'd come out to the job and he'd barbecue.
That's cool.
You know, and so you'd have the owners, you'd have the architects, the engineers, the neighbors, the whoever would come in there, and it was like this community thing.
That's cool.
Super cool. And it got all the tradespeople where like they became bonded. Instead of just being all these separate people, you hang out, eat some barbecue, and we would do that 3 or 4 times a year on these big jobs.
That's cool that you share that. I had no idea that that's how this kind of ties in.
Yeah.
That ties it all together. That's cool.
Yeah. And so that's part of like when I started Fat Lighter. So Fat Lighter was started really back in 2006. I had a shop in Georgia out of the military, and I really just played around with it, but that name was from back then.
Cool.
And then when I started, I'm like, man, I really need to do something so that I'm different than everybody else, you know? So whenever we do milestone projects, we get to a certain point on a bigger project, I'll roll this bad boy in there, set up shop, and cook for people, you know?
Awesome.
So, yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to share this with us, and we'll keep you guys updated. We'll do some footage as we're rolling through. When the smoke starts going, we start putting some meat on there. We'll keep you guys in the loop. Anything else you got to share?
I think that's it for now.
All right, we appreciate it, man.
Yep, thanks, Levi.
All right, so we're still out here at it. It's been, how many hours have we been out here?
Man, I don't know, like 8 maybe. Well, it's 7 o'clock, longer than
Yeah.
that.
Cooked. How many breasts?
300 pounds of turkey breast.
Fed.
Yeah, so 55 breast or something like that.
Fed probably over 100 people.
Oh, well over 100, I think. Yeah.
What do you think about it? Smoker did good.
Man, Smoker did great. Yeah.
You happy with it?
Yeah.
That's the first big smoke you've done on it.
Second big
Second
smoke,
big
yeah.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is the first one that really mattered, getting it off in a timely manner, you know. Yeah, it did really well. Consistent, burns well. I mean, it's been cold.
Yeah, it has been cold.
Started out 18 degrees this morning. It's probably, what, 30 maybe now?
It's getting cold. Stuff's freezing.
Burned up quite a bit of wood, but man, it's consistent. I mean, runs great across the grates. It's a great smoker. It does well.
Now I'm going to have to build one. Pretty cool rig. I appreciate you letting us come hang out with you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate hanging out with you.
Good to see you, dude.
I'm gonna one-hand it.
Yep,
We're shaking hands.
Good times.
Well, it is Sunday and we are on our way home. So hopefully I got enough footage where you got an idea of how that smoker looks and really functions. Super cool hanging out with Gary and his wife and the other people that volunteered. There was actually several people. Ryan and Sarah. Yeah?
Yes.
Ryan and Sarah. I think it was Kate and Chris, I believe. Anyway, lots of volunteers. We really had a good time hanging out. Like Gary said last night, we put about 300 pounds of turkey through there. I know you and Elizabeth and Kate were slaving away in the kitchen all day. Lots of stuffing and mashed potatoes. And you want to eat some stuffing and turkey tonight?
No, I think I'm good. Tacos.
We never actually sat down and ate dinner. We pretty much just picked on the turkey all night. It was actually really, really, really delicious, but had a good time. We appreciate you guys at home taking the time to watch these videos. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always,
Enjoy.
enjoy.